Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we have an interesting topic: breaking up during the coronavirus lockdown. There was a story that was sent into writemac.com, my website, in regards to breaking up during this time period. And who knows if there's another lockdown down the road, or if some people in some areas of the world are still locked down, because this particular situation is different for everyone and in different areas of the world. That being said, if you like this video, throw me a like. If you don't like it, then say you don't like it. It's better to have an opinion than to not have an opinion. And please put in the comments below if you have a situation where you were breaking up during the coronavirus, or if you're blaming that reason. What's up, Justin? If you're blaming that reason for breaking up, or it made things just that much more difficult, which is understandable. If you would like, what's up, Sabina? If you would like to subscribe to the channel or hit the notifications button to get updated on all the live streams, which are every other day to every day, please feel free to do that. And if you want to do a live coaching session, go to writemac.com. It will be in the notes below, and I will put it here right now. All live coaching sessions are WritMac, no, WriteMac. All live coaching sessions, if they are not helpful or useful, I will give you a refund. So eventually I want to talk to you about my story besides my relationships. I'm here for you. Actually, a lot of times when I do coaching, we go into other things besides just your relationship. I mean, there's a lot of different rabbit holes you go down when you are navigating through a breakup and looking at your life from an aerial view, and that's what I help you do. When we do get into other things, I've had clients go, you're not just a breakup coach. You're not just a relationship coach. And, that's what happens when you open up and have a good rapport with people. So let's get into this topic today. Breaking up during the coronavirus. And what I want to talk about first and foremost, I haven't written out a bunch of things about this because this story came in this morning to the website, and I'll get to that story in a little bit. But, relationships that lead to breakups are difficult enough, and there's usually problems that are already there that a international pandemic, whatever you want to call it at this point, whatever your viewpoints are, shit happens and stuff happens. When I was when it was 8 or 9 years old in 1989, we had a giant earthquake hit San Francisco, and guess where I was? I was at the World Series. I was at a baseball game in a 60,000, I think it was 60,000 people stadium. And this earthquake, 7.8 or 8 point, I forgot what it was. It was a big earthquake in San Francisco. It was scary. It was upsetting. There was uncertainty. There was more earthquakes. There's all these different things. This thing with the lockdown has created uncertainty. It's created fear. It's created all kinds of things. And if your relationship already had some strain or some problems, what happens is you layer in more stuff and you don't separate the issues. And so a lot of times you'll say, oh, because of this is why you broke up. There's really usually a deeper seed. And so in this story that I didn't fully review today yet, but for example, the idea of being in a long distance relationship. If you're going to enter a long distance relationship, they can work, but they're not going to work long term. And there's an expiration date on long distance relationships. That expiration date is completely unknown. It's just that it's not an ideal situation. And so you're going to be susceptible to someone meeting someone else, and you're going to impede on the relationship you had before. It's not going to be the same or as good because, what does beat a relationship where you're actually present? Think about that for a moment. We have FaceTime. We have a lot of different things now that can connect us with our loved ones. But an intimate, romantic, partner-based relationship is handicapped by long distance. How else can we slice that? That being said, if it's temporary with a finish line, it can be worked around. Now, you throw in something like the coronavirus lockdown, however you want to look at it, it's just going to create more stress in people's lives, more worry, more angst, more uncertainty. And in the wake of being in a long distance relationship, which already has some insecurities and some worries. You double down on that, and then you create something that someone blows up, someone loses it, someone's no longer going to deal with it. And so it's not just the pandemic, it's not just the lockdown, it's a combination of things. And sometimes the events can be sequential. So what I mean by sequential is the sequence of the events counts too. That all being said, there's a lot of things we don't control. And if you ever studied Stoicism, um, that's one of the things they come back to over and over again. Get in touch with what you control. And I like to say, where's your power in every situation? This is the reality of it. So Justin Adams says, my ex just got into an LDR a month ago. I know you have to be strong to be the one in those, to be in one of those, and knowing her, it won't be pretty. Well, I mean, you can believe what you want to believe, but at the end of the day, it's going to be her fight, her journey, and her new relationship. And like I said, LDRs, they can work. They just don't work long term. So if someone's like, yo, I've been in one for 2 years, that's pretty damn good. And then something happened, right? I don't know what happened. Well, the distance got old. Well, I was planning on moving back, but when were you planning on moving back? Well, I didn't. Did you have a definitive date? No. Okay, so then, I mean, you can keep saying you're going to come back or make more of an effort, but the bottom line is nothing beats someone in your hometown or 30 minutes away. I mean, someone in the relationship, just the amount of people with LDR breakups, someone in the relationship eventually goes, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too much work. It's not what I'm looking for. I want more physical attention. And someone doesn't want to agree with that or believe that because they're not the one that left. All right, so let me get in the story. I got 3 on deck. It's taking a little while today to get the word out, I guess, huh? Her new dude lives 2 hours away. I was only 20 minutes from her, and she hated it. Well, 2 hours away is, that's kind of one of those things that's a long distance situation that's doable compared to living in different countries, which is very common now, probably more so than ever before with FaceTime and the way people connect. So 2 hours is actually, I don't know if that would be a long distance, and I pray that she finds happiness. Well, good for you. That's a good way to look at it. I pray that you find happiness, Justin. So, I was hoping to have a few more on deck before the story, but it doesn't matter. So, just some background here. I don't give anyone's name or anything like that, but she said he's 37 and I'm 36. She forgot to include that before I get started. Let me get back to the live stream real quick. 3 on deck. Sabina, how you doing? You all right, hon? I saw that you came on. I also have an Instagram right now, Coach Mac McCarthy, if you want to join that. I saw Sabina was on there, liked a couple posts. I appreciate you. Okay, let's get into it. If you want to send your story into writemac.com, please send it in, and I will give you my take in a live stream just like this, possibly. We broke up on June 15th during the lockdown. We were in a long-distance relationship. He's in Korea, and I'm working in Manila. Now, that's some distance, right? That's a plane ride as compared to a 2-hour car ride. We connected really well. He was the one who convinced me to get into the relationship. I don't know if I like the idea that you were convinced to get in a relationship. You should have wanted to be in a relationship. So that right there is a small, small red flag to me. He was very dedicated and the sweetest guy throughout our relationship. Well, that sounds good. We saw each other every month. Well, that's good. If you were a plane ride away, and I'm not sure about the plane ride from Korea to Manila, but I'm sure it's not more than 5 or 6 hours. So that might be doable to just do every month. Okay. And if you are going to be in a long-term a long-distance relationship, seeing each other 1 month would be the minimum, I would say. Mostly I fly to Korea because my work is more flexible. This is a random side note, but Korea's airport in Seoul is probably one of the nicest I've ever been to. It's beautiful, beautiful place. Mostly I fly to Korea because my work is more flexible. I can take off basically whenever I want. He flew once to Manila and had a great trip. He actually missed a serious family holiday to come see me. Well, that's kind. That's nice. I know he was serious about us and always was very considerate of me when we were together. So you value the fact that he's considerate, sweet, and dedicated. Those are good things to value. We texted and called each other, sometimes video call too. The problem started with the lockdown, which started mid-March, and I could not travel to Korea anymore. And of course, the lockdown really messed with my mental state because I was alone. So the idea that you were alone and your mental state because of the lockdown could be separate than the fact that you were in a long distance relationship. And it directly affected your arrangement. You guys were seeing each other once a month, which was already limited. You were looking forward to it. You were getting along quite well. And this happened to a lot of people. I became more needy and dependent on him, which I have reflected on since. So that's great that you've reflected on that, and you did actually have a cause that was outside of how should I say this? Outside of what you're used to or the norm. And so looking back, you can see that the circumstances of the lockdown had you perhaps act more needy and dependent. It's not just a part of your character; it was a part of circumstances, which would be different. And this is why a breakup probably had to happen for you to reflect on it. I know now I put too much pressure on him since Korea didn't have any lockdown, so life was pretty normal while I was like in jail at home for 3 months. I think my behavior slowly killed his emotional attraction to me, and when he broke up with me, his reason was he doesn't feel excited anymore. And at first, I didn't understand, but now I do. Again, this is what breakups do. They bring you time to process. They bring you time to think about things if you do it right and get some clarity on what your role was in it. And it sounds like you're being accountable right here, which is a good thing. I really fell in love with him, and our relationship together was always smooth and easy. He used to say really sweet things to me. You said sweet twice, so this is something you extremely value. Sweet things to me, like while driving home, the sun was setting, and we were just enjoying the ride, and he said it was the perfect moment. He used to hold my hand whenever he's driving and doesn't let go, even while driving manual. Okay. I, of course, want him back, but I don't know how to get him emotionally attracted to me again. Well, bottom line is, are you able to travel again? And are you guys able to get in each other's presence would be the first question I have. I've implemented the no contact rule, but after I pleaded to talk to him while we were breaking up, you said why or while, that was within the first 3 days after the breakup. I then stopped for like 2 weeks. For like 2 weeks or 2 weeks. Only July 1st, I texted him a goodbye text saying, like, I thank him for the time we were together and wished him good luck. So why did you do that if you want to get back with him? Why would you give him a farewell? He texted back how he appreciated me and he thought a lot about us on our birthdays. Late June. We had plans for a trip, but everything was canceled because I couldn't go to Korea. So this is a breakup due to circumstances. It's not due to love. It's not due to attraction. He wished me happiness. I texted him, and it's due to the fact that you acted out because of the circumstances. I texted back after a few hours to thank him and hope he had a great birthday. We haven't texted since, and I relaunched the no contact period again. Yeah, but you've given assurance that you're approving the breakup. So I don't know, what was your agenda by saying good luck and happy birthday? Was it hoping that he said that he missed you and he wanted to see you again? Or were you sincere in that, yeah, we're done? The other part I didn't get from this is you haven't told me how long you were actually together. I've been keeping busy with new activities, reflecting and healing myself. But of course, I know I want to be with him again, but I just don't know how, since we are long distance and we are still not able to travel. The curfew and going outside has been eased a bit. Hence, I can see friends again. Well, bottom line is, yeah, you're not going to get back together. Your percentage of getting back together would be like 1%, if it's going to be over FaceTime or the phone. That's already difficult, but with the idea of not knowing when you're going to see each other again, in the airports and the travel open up again, I would say this: instead of hoping, wishing, and trying to figure out when that's going to happen, take a deep breath, like I just did. Process some things. Get back to focusing on your work, exercising, getting out of the house, whatnot, journaling, take up yoga, do some swimming, whatever you do, right? And then when the time and opportunity comes and things open back up, because they will, maybe you want to contact them and just be direct and go, hey, you know what? I've been thinking about things and I've been thinking about what we went through, and it just wasn't fair how it all went down because of the circumstances. And I was wondering if I came out to Korea to visit, would you be open to that? Now, if you did that, he can reject you. He can say, you know what, no, it's not a good idea. It's this, that, or the other, but that's your clarity. I don't think in this particular situation, if you believe that the breakup was due primarily because of the distance, uh, that you can't do that. That being said, I wouldn't guarantee a response from him. But with your situation, being that the distance was the problem, you do need some smoke to clear from the idea that you were so needy at the time, and probably annoying, uh, for him to miss the time that he was with you that had nothing to do with that. I've watched multiple videos regarding getting back your ex, and there's not much regarding long distance relationships. Probably because if it's going to continue to be long distance and long distance was the problem, then you're not really eliminating the problem. The only way to get back together is to be in each other's presence again. But that still won't eliminate the fact that, it's not an ideal situation. He used to tell me I'm on his mind all the time, even during he was super busy with work. He'd tell me he thinks about me all the time. Well, that's good news. That means if he's in no contact with you right now, you're probably still thinking about you. He's a straightforward and genuine person. So doesn't our relationship was so sincere and I was loved so purely? What should I do if he doesn't ever reach out to me again? Well, what can you do? In this particular situation, you can reach out to him because I don't see that there was a huge problem. But I wouldn't reach out anytime soon. I'd wait at least 30 days. That doesn't mean it's going to work when you reach out to him. It just gives time for the smoke to clear. He hasn't had many relationship. I know it's only been a handful, so he's not really experienced in that field. How do I get him back and show him I'm working on myself to be the person I was when he fell for me? Well, again, before anything happens, the airports are going to have to open up and you're going to need the opportunity to actually meet in person. You're not going to regenerate this thing with 1,000 FaceTime messages and calls. We are not on each other's social media because he doesn't use it much. That's a good thing. Our only way of seeing each other is on Kakao, which is a Korean version of WhatsApp. It's really came from nowhere. I had no idea he would break up with me. We did have an argument 3 weeks beforehand, but it was about him disrespecting for a few hours, hanging out with his coworkers. Okay, did he agree that he was disrespecting you, or did you just see it that way? I see now my behavior regarding that was wrong. Did you make that clear during the breakup that you were wrong? Just because I was stuck doesn't mean he doesn't get to live his life. Well, hindsight is 2020. How do I reignite his emotional attraction to me again? Well, what do you think he was most attracted to? Probably your presence, right? I know he felt very deeply about me. We had spoken about marriage, kids, and of course, me moving to Korea. The future for us had seemed strong and bright. I just wanted to save up more money before the move. We had been together for 8 months. Okay, finally, we got it 8 months before the breakup, but we both wanted it to work and to be real long-term relationships. So my question would be, at what point was your finish line of moving to Korea? Like where, you're long distance, but did you say I'm going to move there in a year, 6 months, 3 months? Was there any plan of that? The way he's excited about me and the way he looked at me was always filled with love. He makes a lot of effort, and it made me dedicated myself to him more. His relationship was 1.5 years before me, and he said he just doesn't want to get hurt again. She was an alcoholic who didn't tell him she had a son until 5 months later. Okay, so the fact that the other relationship was really bad and it doesn't sound like you have any of those characteristics is probably waning good on this period of time of you being apart. He said he couldn't just switch off his feelings, so he stayed with her for 1 year until her alcoholic destructive behavior was too much. Anyway, I just want to know, should I do now going forward? I honestly believe deep down he should still have some feelings for me. Well, he absolutely has some feelings for you. You said it yourself that basically the lockdown and your neediness during the lockdown caused the breakup. And if you were to get back together, you need to make him realize that you were in the wrong. You don't want to go into it. You don't want to say sorry 1,000 times. You just want to be incredibly accountable short, sweet, and honest. And wait about 2 more weeks. And in this particular situation, I think you can contact him. The lion or elephant in the room is, are you going to be able to travel to see each other? Because that would be the part where you know where you stand, is when you get into each other's presence again. So let me go to the live stream real quick. Jasper J, always a pleasure. I pray that she finds happiness. What's good, coach? Everything's good, my friend. I'm at Ala Moana Beach Park out in Oahu, Hawaii, getting some. Hope everyone is doing good and working to improve themselves. Outstanding. I love it. I'm very good. Thanks, Mac. Your Instagram was great. Keep developing it. Thanks, Sabine. I appreciate you. I want to do a live coaching session with you, coach. Okay. Well, you know my email. You know how to reach me. Let me know. I did long distance with my ex while I was in the Marines. We saw each other every 3 months. Some people will create a problem just to brag about it. Even if you live next to her, she might tell you we live close to each other. That's true. Yes, for another 3.5 years. I've realized it's not about the length of the relationship. A failed relationship is the one that lasts longer than it should. I guess so, man. And we should have broken up in the first year. It's all hindsight 2020. And here's what's really interesting. I've talked about this before. And I think Sabina might agree with this. Due to my life experience and over my time and twists and turns and ups and downs and whatnot. And everyone has them, by the way. What I find to be a twist and turn might be just a breeze for someone else, right? We're all different. But here's what's really interesting, Jasper J. You look back, and I've done this before, and you go, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have done this, I could have done this, I should have done this. What you really don't realize is, let's say you do break up at that time, you don't know what would have happened next. So you're like, oh, we should have broken up a year earlier or whatever. Well, you don't know what that domino effect would have had. Then you might have ended up with a girlfriend in place of her that's a schizophrenic, crazy. You know what I mean? You just don't know. So when you go back in hindsight and you think if you made one move that everything would be golden and great, it's just not true. And so that's what's really interesting about connecting the dots. Another way to connect the dots is when you reframe things and see when some bad things led to some good things. That's fucking interesting. Because it's like an individual I did a coaching with 2 days ago. He's going through the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and he's got a really unique situation. And he was in the middle of a relationship where he had a platonic relationship with his wife, and he was able to, with the consent of his wife, have a girlfriend because they wanted to stay together for the kids. Now, everyone that's judging that, it was completely honest and transparent in his relationship. So that's the agreement they had. Now he stayed in that, and then over time, later on, he felt like, oh, I probably stayed in that too long, and that's why the girlfriend broke up with him years later. But I said, look, maybe if you didn't, maybe if you let's say for example, you leave your wife that was a platonic relationship that actually worked. Maybe your kids hate you, despise you for leaving their mom, and then you do get the girlfriend, but you have a fragile, incinerated relationship with your kids. Would you trade that in? You know what I mean? I don't know. And so when you go back and you look at everything and you go, oh, if I would have done this, I would have done that. I would have done this, I would have done that. I mean, one of the big ones I always come back to, and the opportunities of making more money over my life, because living in the Bay Area for years and stuff, and having a job in real estate, I would be like, oh, fuck. If I would have stayed in that just a few more years, I would have just reaped the harvest. Or if I would have, I had a friend during the, not the .com, but 2002, 2007, 2008, when the stock market got slammed, everything went down. I was in real estate, and I had a little chunk of money in the bank, not millions of dollars or anything like that, but I had a little bit of money that I could throw into something. I remember this guy that was a friend of mine. We actually split season tickets to the Warriors when they sucked, Jasper J. This was like 11, 12 years ago, but he was a financial advisor, and he was into stocks and different things like that. And he was young. I didn't really take him too seriously because that wasn't my avenue, but he was like, dude, this is a really good time to put some money in the stock market. And I was like, oh, like, sounds like a good idea. And I got about 20 grand, 30 grand I could play with. When I say that, I'm saying that I didn't have a lot of bills or payments, and I didn't have any debt. So I had this money on the side. I just made a deal at work. And he said, I would buy Apple, and I forgot, he had like 3 different stocks, and like 2 of them, if I would have bought them at the time, I mean, they were no brainers, right? That being said, I just assume if I would have bought them, I would have held them. What's to say if I would have made 10%, I would have sold them right away? What's to say if I would have made 100 grand off them that I didn't just use that money and buy some expensive car, and then the car got stolen? You just don't know what the domino effects of those shoulda, coulda, woulda decisions would be. And when you get into those, that's how you kind of deflate them, right? So always remember that when you come back to that over and over again. It's kind of one of those things that everything's happening to you. If you want to say for a reason, fine. If you want to say because the universe is doing it, but worst case scenario, in your worst fucking moments, it's a lesson. It's a lesson on how to deal with a new problem. It happens. Laugh out loud. Sounds like a Netflix series. Okay, so let me get into these. I agree, Mac. Is it the same story as yesterday, Coach? Possibly. I think I talked to this individual 2 days ago. 1 chapter in your book. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, examples of breakups. Hey, you, Sabina, where you been? Azam's back on deck. Streams were early. I was sleeping mostly. Then watch later. Right on. Let's just get this back. Yeah. Just finish that story. Yeah, you missed the story, Azam. So getting back to this topic really quick, because I only got about 10, 15 minutes left. I gotta be somewhere. If you're looking at your breakup right now, and some part of let's just call it specifically the coronavirus lockdown, being that, large swaths of the area around the world had different rules and regulations that restricted you from leaving your home and doing things. Now, interestingly enough, I've had 2 different live coaching sessions. I've had 2 different live coaching sessions where people actually got really close during the coronavirus, and they said because they were locked down together that it was just great. It was like rose petals and wine glasses because, they were supposed to stay in for a month and they had nothing else to do. Their job wasn't, calling on them. And so they got really close. And then when the coronavirus went away, and they went back to their jobs and had some stressful moments, it's like, whew. So, what's really interesting about your relationship, and I always say your environment counts, your outside activities, such as your job, affect the relationship. And so when someone's thinking to themselves, oh, this is just great, the lockdown, and we got so close, and then someone has to go back to their job they hate or figure out how they have to make money or this or that. Some people during the lockdown enjoyed the fuck out of that. People like I myself wasn't in a situation where we couldn't leave the house. I went hiking every day in the afternoon. You had to wear your mask and whatnot. I didn't go to a lot of public places or anything like that. I followed the rules within my community that I was supposed to, but I was allowed to leave the house. I think that would be extremely difficult. But I had friends and family members that just Netflixed it, ordered food in, and it was glorious and good for them. And so, like you look at it and it's like, oh, this is so horrible for everyone else. No, I mean, circumstances are, going back to the story that I mentioned earlier, the reason why your breakup would be a problem during the coronavirus lockdown is because it was already fragile to start with. And if you have a long distance relationship, you're always susceptible. It's just a weaker relationship. Okay. It's more fragile to a lot of different things, extremely susceptible to someone meeting someone else. No one wants to ever believe that. Oh, we were great. We were good together. Bottom line is when, it gets old for an individual to not have physical intimacy regularly if they're in a relationship, whatever regular is to them, to not have human touch regularly, whatever that is to them. And so the minute that someone comes into their lives and provides that and you're not around, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily monkey branching or they don't care about you. It just means that there's a void that they need to fill, that you're not filling it. And correct me if I'm wrong, a long distance relationship, even if you want to believe otherwise, is not a complete relationship. And that's what I'm saying. Both sides need to sacrifice and trust, but they also need to realize that your situation is fragile. And at any given moment, you're more susceptible to someone sliding in. And the only way you combat that is, like I said, create some certainty about when you're going to move back or they're going to move over. And also create some certainty in how often you're going to visit. In this particular story that I just read, they said, hey, look, we talk once a month or we see each other once a month. That was that certainty. That was the way you got it. That was taken away during the coronavirus. And then you realize, wait a minute, if we don't have this, then we don't have much of a relationship. 5 p.m. is a good time probably, right? Yesterday was the age story, 23 girl and 38-year-old guy. Good. Yeah, Sabina. What do you think about that, Sabina? I'm just curious in your opinion. Just the age alone of a woman being 23 and the guy being 38 or 39. That's an I think that's such an interesting age range because, in your late 30s, a lot of times there's a lot of people that can look late 20s, early 30s. I think that someone in their early 20s probably is highly attracted to the wisdom, life experience, maturity of someone that's 38. And I think they met in a lab somewhere. So it's really interesting. You can see where the attraction comes from. And her fear was, well, when he's 50, I'm going to be 35 or whatever it was. And that's an interesting difference in change, right? Things like this can work, but it creates more fragility, right? What would be the precedent on years? Is it 10 maximum? Is it 8 maximum? Is it 5 maximum? I don't know. I'll tell you this. I believe it can work, but that guy at 38 years old needs to keep up with his fitness, with his career. He needs to elevate himself in a way that he has high value throughout the years that he gets older. He can't become a slouch or it can motivate him in a way to stay on his game, to stay a better catch. Because if she's 23 and he's 38 and in his mid 40s, he goes, yeah, I don't want to exercise anymore or kind of just let myself go. I got my wife. No, that if she's in her mid 20s and she's at her peak, she'll be out the door in a whim. So 7 a.m. my time, just as I wake up for work, right on, Azam. Works out perfectly because I'm always at the park working out. Right on, bud. Perfect to listen to on the car ride home. Okay, the We Believe Warriors. That was one of the greatest live dunks I've ever witnessed was Baron Davis over Andre Kirilenko. I don't know if you know that one, but that was incredible. Hawaii, Jasper, you are at one of the most beautiful places in the world. Absolutely. Matt Barnes, the Steven Jackson podcast is great, Coach. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting where things have gone with the freedom of podcasts and YouTube, and now these guys are getting baked talking about their days in the NBA and whatnot. I like Matt Barnes, yeah. He's from Sacramento, actually. Everybody's replaceable. Most relationships are fragile. It isn't a relationship in my book. Long distance, you mean? Hawaii is great. The people are nice. The food is amazing. The hikes are gorgeous. Living on a tropical island doesn't get old, does it? Here's what I always say, Jasper J. I've done it when I lived in Thailand, and I did it when I lived in San Diego. I lived near the beach in San Diego. You want to live where people go on vacation. People come up and they go, "You live here? Fuck, man. How long have you lived here? How'd you do that?" It's a privilege, but it can be planned out. It's people's moral that fragile too. When we live in a superficial, materialistic world, I agree. What's up, Rob? Girl got scared that guy is much older. What's up? What's up, Mary? Lala, how are you? Hey, Sabina, long time no see. BD was nasty. Those are his glory years, right? Those were his glory years. My parents have a 15-year age difference, still married at 50 years. He is crazy about his health, 91 years old and still up and at him. Good for him, man. 91, that's glorious, man. That's great. So, I mean, long term, they worked out. Do you think, Lala, this might be personal, but if you want to share, is there a reason that you think it worked for your dad and your mom? Obviously, they probably have had ups and downs, and it hasn't been perfect because any long marriage, of 50 years, my parents have been married 40, and it's not like, oh, yeah, it was all, rose petals and wine glasses. Hell no. There's a lot of sacrifices and twists and turns and ups and downs and sweet and sours. But what would you say that your father was able to do, being that their 15-year age difference, to, dare I say, keep your mother attracted or into the relationship or with him? Coronavirus can change a person. Hell yeah. I mean, mentally. Coronavirus cases here have dropped in low daily numbers. Well, that's good. It keeps going up here. Rob, just wear the face mask. I don't know if it's more safe in Canada. IDMU beach pic through IG. You know it, Mac Daddy. Yeah, I've got plenty of beach pictures. I just actually went fishing. I just didn't take a bunch of pictures. I went on a day trip where we had a boat all day. Caught a bunch of grouper, king mackerel. I can show them the spots. You want to be a Hawaii guide? You could do that now on Airbnb. I know it's not a good time for Airbnb because of Corona and whatnot, but you can help people with experiences, and some local can take you around. I've had HIV is more dangerous. People still have unsafe sex. That's deep. Yeah, that's true. I can show them spots. Laugh out loud. Good for you. I would definitely do that, man. I would consider doing that. What are you doing right now, Jasper J? Did you get in the accountant game or what? Yes, way safer. The province here has 14.6 million people, and lately about 100. Wow, that's great news. That's really good. My parents are both crazy, so I guess it's their dynamic. Fair enough, hon. Fair enough. Well, regardless, you're saying it's possible, right? When someone's like, could they stay together? I'd say though, like if someone's 15 years older, it would be in their best interest to embrace being in good shape and good health for their age. A lot of times someone will meet someone 50, they'll meet someone 60, they'll meet someone 40, and they'll go, wow, you look good for 40. Wow, you look good for 50. If you're with someone that's 15 years younger, people should be saying that to you. And I would say that a real interesting thing, I think the people you keep company with affects your aging. Polarity keeps them together. Good point. Simply put, but I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. It's kind of funny you say that, as on my parents being together 40 plus years. Though polarity is there, bro. That's something that I came to realize the last couple of years. And years before, you think like, oh, dad's being an asshole or this or that, or he went to, but the polarity is absolutely 100% there. And I would say pretty much at all times. It's been 40 days, no contact, guys. I still think about her every day, but the urge to contact her is non-existent. Well, that's huge. That's why a lot of times I tell people just try to get to 30 days, not because you're going to get anything out of it, not because they're going to come back, just as a finish line, and then start a new finish line. I should move there, then I won't have to change careers. I don't mind the mask. You'll like it here. Good for you. You see the future with her? Can you picture yourself with her in the next years? A lot of times when you were with someone for such a long time, like I told people, you're not going to forget them. Your mind has a Rolodex and it's constantly triggered by new things that associate that person with you. What you can do is neutralize the thoughts. You can welcome them and then let them go. But you also, you know, until you meet someone else, which I'm not suggesting the rebound or the monkey branching, until you meet someone else, there will be a void. Some people are quicker to pivot out than others. If you have problems with what went down, then you need to process it all out. And what comes to light when I do a live coaching session sometimes is you realize, for example, there's some people out there that, like Azam says, they don't, or Rob says all the time, you don't understand the rules and regulations of how attraction works. Okay, well then I could suggest a few books, and you're being needy and weak as a man in the relationship, and some of the, approaches you're taking would turn off most women. In other cases, you haven't done anything wrong and they're making you the bad guy. Every situation's a little bit different, but when you take a step back and assess things, your goal out of the breakup eventually is to go, I didn't fuck up. I broke up. Actually, I wish I wouldn't have done that, but I learned a lot because of the breakup. So here's the thing about if you don't break up. If you don't break up, you don't really learn anything. Any of your mistakes, mishaps, miscommunications, they don't come to the surface until you break up. Do you get what I'm saying? It's funny. I was in a live stream earlier today. The guy has a very popular channel. What's it called? Inspired Nation. And actually, one of the ladies that's in my live stream was on there. I think her name's Roller Girl. Let me see. Is that what it's called? Yeah, just to give him it's called Inspired Nation. The guy's a little cheesy sometimes, but he interviews people about energy and source and all these kinds of things, which interest me. And I popped in and I go, I help people with their breakups. Do you have any suggestions? And it's so funny because it opened up, because it was a live stream. It opened up this couple that was, glowing over each other and stuff, to being like, well, and he's like, I can't believe you said that actually about breakups and this and that. And they went back and forth. And he goes, he gets really serious. What I would say about breakups. Breakups are an opportunity. They're an opportunity for change. And I was like to myself, yeah. In my head, I'm like, yeah, crisis is an opportunity. I agree with that. And I'm just like, isn't it so funny that someone can give the same message, but how they do it can be so different? Does anyone ever recognize that? That really a lot of your advice and recommendations over the internet are just remixes of how people convey messages differently. It's like, has anyone seen this guy from, I mean, have you seen the ads for this channel, MindValley? Some of the content on there looks pretty cool, like the interviews and stuff, but the guy, I believe he's Indian descent or Malaysian descent. I'm not sure. He's got a beard. He's just so fucking dramatic. Today I was interviewing Todd from Gaia National, and he told me that it's not about working harder. It's actually, you don't need to work so hard. And that was amazing to me. And then when he talks like this, I'm just like, quit the fucking act. Like, can you just fucking stop talking that way? Everything has to be in like this. It's like, I like the content. I like some of the people you're interviewing, but your approach is like traveling salesman, dude. Has anyone ever seen that one? Maybe it's just me. I've actually completely moved on from her. I do not see my future with her. I think communication is crucial. That guy must be gay. Have you seen that though? MindValley. It's called MindValley. I think it's have you ever heard of Gaia Masterclass? There's all these different things where you can buy a subscription, and he's got interviews and stuff. I mean, it comes up on my ads all the time. Opportunity. Yeah, it was just funny because when I asked the question about breakups, he made it this, okay, I'm gonna get into a deep mode because it's breakups right now. You have to get to source, you gotta get to this, you gotta get to that. And it's like some of the stuff, it wasn't that I disagreed, it was just so fucking heavy, right? If anyone ever does a lot that's on here that hasn't done a live coaching with you, it's like one thing that I like to do in the coaching is like, let's make it human. Let's have a few moments where we can laugh or smile when there's a moment to laugh or smile or make fun of ourselves, right? Because it's so fucking serious. Like one of the great things about Thailand and Thai culture, they it's almost uh, a default to be serious ever. They just like to joke and be playful all the time, and it can come off very simple to a lot of people. Um, but it's refreshing. It's like it's a really nice way to be. I think that um, a lot of early cultures were probably like this. There's so much um, concentration on sophisticated things and whatnot. But yeah, it was just funny if I could go back to the live stream today and take a clip from it because it wasn't like I don't like the guy or his channel or his content, and he owns the fact the dude's kind of a dork. He's got like dorky glasses on like mine, and he's got this like weird way of like woo woo. He does these kinds of things and stuff, but he owns the cheesiness. It's who he is. He's not trying to be someone he's not. Okay, so let's get into a few more of these. I only have a few more minutes. I'm an accounting clerk, just trying to gain experience, coach. Okay, good. I mean, that's a good finish line though, because um, like I've told you before, accounting, there's always work. Mary, right? You know about accounting. An opportunity. Jasper J wants to be an accountant. Sabina, yes, ma'am. I'm focused on weightlifting, salsa, bachata, and reading. That's gonna really serve you, the salsa thing, dude. Do you do you have a salsa? Do you take a class or do you have a private instructor? I'm just curious. No stereo, but types, but sounds gay. Yeah, no problem. Rob, not tonight. My kids left back to Alabama. I'll be on tomorrow. Alabama, great song, Sweet Home Alabama. You do good impressions. Thank you. Sounds like a Shakespeare actor. Isn't it funny though that someone can take a question or something and they can make it like you can make it into something that's a joke, you can make it serious. Um, it's just interesting, you know, and someone will answer a question like they're the first person to ever answer it that way. I think it's really cool. Wow, that's awesome. I just started last year and I'm taking classes. Keep dancing. Um, do you have an Instagram? Okay, cool. Yeah, actually, Jasper J's been on my Instagram. I'm not an accountant, but my dad is. That's a good person to have in the family, a good accountant. Uh, okay, we got into salsa now. I think that's actually a really cool thing for someone that's single to take up, probably. Any closing questions? I do have to go. We got the usual suspects here. Sabina made a special appearance. Really good to see you. Crystal, someone was actually asking about you a couple days ago. Um, Rob's always on deck. Any closing thoughts on the topic? Breaking up during the coronavirus lockdown? One of the things with, you know, the whole coronavirus lockdown and everything like that, everyone had to deal with it. You know, I came across some people that were going on about their restaurant or their businesses, and I said, you know, it's not me being fucked up, but at some point you got to stop complaining and figure out how to adapt. What I notice about people that are really good with businesses and are quite successful, they're always looking at like, all right, what's the angle, or how am I going to adapt to this situation instead of trying to um, complain about it. And so there are some silver linings that have come from this. Like, look at the amount of people that are going to be able to work from home now that don't have to drive so far, right? The CVLD was a true relationship test. I don't know what that means. Maybe you can clarify, Vadim or Vadim. I like listening to bachata, but I like the depth of salsa. Are you going to do a live stream on the testing topic? Shit testing? Oh, coronavirus. The coronavirus lockdown was a true relationship test. Hell yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, though, that's what. For example, if you're long distance, you're just opening yourself up to more uh, susceptibility to breaking up. There's just more ways, and that's one of them. Coach is finally reading some of the books you recommend. Models is a good book. Yeah. If someone's just looking at attraction, dating as a man, I would say Rational Male, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and Models. It's a nice mix. I like the fact that you did The Truth and The Game. I think it's very important to look at The Game and then read The Truth, but they were both highly entertaining books. I don't like Rational Male. No problem. No problem. What I would say, if you don't like it, ask yourself why you don't like it, and then ask yourself again, like, is there some things in here though that you find true that you're fighting? What I like about it is it takes an angle where a lot of people are scared to take that angle. Um, my relationship isn't from too far. My relationship isn't from too far. We live pretty close. The lockdown made us be like 6 hours together a day. After about a month, I couldn't do it anymore. See, like, if it was me and I'm locked down with a partner 24/7, I just like to get out of the house. I'm just one of those people. I've always been that way. People that don't exercise or don't like to leave the house much, hermitry, being a hermit, no. You know, that's what would drive me nuts. All right, folks, it's just about that time. I'll be back on deck tomorrow. And you know what I'm going to attempt to do this week? I do have an assistant now. Is I will post a schedule with the live stream times on Instagram. So my Instagram is Coach Mac McCarthy. If you want to join that, go for it. If you don't, fine, I don't mind. Too much stress with work, with working out with friends. I go to a studio. Okay, cool. I did the book, The Rational. What and why don't I like something in it? Maybe we'll unpack that book one day. It's $200 a month. Wow, 200 US. Too much stress without work, without working out, going with friends. You just sit there every day and do the same. It isn't even like living together. It's worse. Vadim, where are you at in the world? I'm just curious. I think it's worth it because there's classes 6 days. Okay, that's cool. That's like unlimited yoga here is like $120 a month. I bet it's a lot more in the States. Mary, that's great. Sabina, it's great having you back on, huh? Jessie F., we broke up because she said I neglected her. I was overworked and stressed, and I let it get to me. How do I approach trying to get her back? She said she fell out of love. Send your full story into writemac.com. You want me to talk about it in a live stream without saying your name? I can do that. If you want to go straight into a live coaching session, if you don't find it useful or helpful, I will refund you, Jesse. But I need to know your story, bud. The statement you gave me right here, it's just a little vague, and it wouldn't be very good tailored advice. Off the top of my head, a short answer: we broke up because she said I neglected her. Okay, so you need to identify how you neglected her and if you agree with that assessment. So you shouldn't be saying sorry for something you don't think you did wrong. I was overworked and stressed. I let it get to me. So it was timing and circumstances. At the same time, could she have been more understanding? How do I approach trying to get her back? Like I said, for me to give you more information on that, I need to just know your full story. So please write that out. Or if you want to go full into a live coaching session, if you're really being, how long have you been together, Jesse? If you're in a really tough place, I would go and do the coaching session. I suggest booking a session with Mac. Right on, Jasper. I appreciate you. Yeah, I gotta go. This is what I tend to do. I keep going and going. I'll be back on tomorrow. Have a good one. For almost 3 years, yeah, then do the coaching session because you got a lot to unpack there. All right, it's curtains.